told you that the woman loading shopping bags into her car at 4 a.m. wasn't returning from a night shift but delivering drugs worth millions of pounds? What if the person directing a nationwide cocaine network wasn't a gangster, wasn't a kingpin, wasn't armed but a grandmother, a woman who looked invisible, a woman who blended into the background, yet behind closed doors? She called herself Gangsta Debbs. Her children saved her in their phones as Queen Bee, and prosecutors would later say, she ruled an empire worth 80 million pounds. This is the story of Deborah Mason, a grandmother, a mother, a queen pin, and the crime family she built that spanned England, corrupted her own children, and ended with nearly a ton of cocaine seized and her name written into British criminal history. This is not just a crime story, it's a family tragedy, a cautionary tale, and a masterclass in how crime hides in plain sight. Deborah Mason didn't look like a criminal, no flashy jewelry, no designer coats, no criminal swagger, a grandmother, a quiet woman who wouldn't turn heads in a supermarket. And that's what made her perfect. Deborah Mason, 65 years, born in 28th of February, 1960 of Crayford Road, Tufnell Park, played the leading role in the prolific criminal enterprise. Deborah Mason played a leading role, and was top of the organization and provided cocaine for the upstream supplier known as Bugsy. She took part in 20 trips, delivering 356 kilograms of cocaine, and also made trips to deliver and collect cash. She was in close contact with the upstream supplier using an encrypted app, which had auto-deletion of messages set up, designed to keep the operation secret and messages deleted. She also organized those who drove for her, staying in phone contact from the early hours to make sure they were up, and checking in on them during the day. She did not use pressure or coercion to woo her family into the gang, as they were motivated by financial benefit. In April of 2023, just before sunrise, undercover police were watching a car park near the port of Harwich. Not a luxury area, not a crime hotspot, just a quiet retail park. Then they saw her, a woman loading boxes into a hire car, not suspicious, not rushed, not nervous. In fact, she looked like any other woman moving shopping, but police had received intelligence. A vehicle from Islington, making unexplained nighttime trips. And when Deborah Mason handed a heavy laundry bag to a stranger in Ipswich, officers knew. This wasn't shopping, this was business. But not just any business. A drug operation that would later be described as industrial in scale. For 7 months, police watched Deborah Mason, followed her cars, tracked movements, listened in silence, as hundreds of kilos of cocaine entered Britain and flowed through her hands, not through gangsters, not through thugs, but through her family. Deborah Mason didn't deal with strangers. She didn't hire criminals. She built her empire in her own home. Her children weren't just family. They were staff, drivers, couriers, cash collectors. Her son, Reggie. Her daughters, Demi, Lily, and Roseanne. Her sister, family, friends, partners. Everyone had a role. Everyone had a route. Everyone got paid. It is estimated each individual earned more than £1,000 a day. But Deborah was in charge of everything. She ran operations from her phone. She tracked deliveries. She checked locations. She woke her drivers before dawn. Have you left yet? Where are you now? Send your PIN. She spoke in aliases. Used encrypted apps. Never named drugs. Never said cocaine. Just like a CEO. She coordinated logistics, schedules, payments. And one name came up again and again. The supplier. The ghost. The man known only as Bugsy. He wasn't just a contact. He was her upstream connection. Her provider. And even her travel companion. Dubai, Bahrain. 5-star hotels, while her children drove through rain and dirt. Deborah Mason sipped drinks in luxury resorts. Still directing shipments by FaceTime. The reach of this family business was enormous. London, Manchester, Bristol, Cardiff, Leicester, Bradford, Sheffield, Rotherham, Walsall. Cocaine moved through supermarket bags. Delivered in small cars. Hidden in plain sight. Sometimes couriers were stopped minutes after pickups. One man was arrested with 10 kilos. Enough cocaine for tens of thousands of doses. But that was only a fraction. Over 7 months the gang moved nearly a ton, £25 million at wholesale value, £80 million on the streets. The drugs arrived through ports, Harwich, Dover, Folkestone, then moved inland like clockwork. Drop, collect, pay, repeat. This wasn't spontaneous crime. This was professional. Industrial, relentless. And Deborah Mason was the foreman. The judge would later say, you were not the project manager, but you were the site foreman. Translation, she might not own the cartel, but she built the road. Roseanne Mason, her daughter, 29 years, of Canonbury, North London, stepped into the directing role when Mason was on holiday in Dubai, who made 7 trips delivering about 166 kilograms of cocaine. For all that work the money poured in, Deborah Mason Mason didn't buy normal things, she bought status. A Bugatti kettle, designer clothes, expensive holidays, and for her cat, a Gucci collar, a gold name tag, Bengal cat named Ghost, living a luxurious life funded by heroin addiction and suffering. It was surreal. A woman receiving £50,000 in benefits while secretly earning millions. Talking about plastic surgery in Turkey while claiming hardship. And when police finally arrested her, she stood in a bathroom with designer towels, still believing she was untouchable. But crime always leaves fingerprints. And the law was watching quietly. Deborah Mason didn't go down alone. When she fell, she dragged her entire family with her. Mason and her associates were arrested by the Metropolitan Police in May 2024 after an extensive investigation involving surveillance and tracking of their movements. In July 2025, Mason was sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs, and the entire gang received combined sentences of over 106 years. Reggie Bright, 24, of Staplehurst, Kent, 15 years. Demi Kendall, 31, of Staplehurst, 13 and a half years. Lily Bright, 26, of Ashford, Kent, 13 years. Anita Slaughter, 44, Ashford, 13 years. Demi Bright, 30, of Ashford, 11 years. Roseanne Mason, 29, of Canonbury, North London, 11 years. Tina Golding, 66, Ashford, 10 years. Chloe Hodgkin, 23, of Kent, to be sentenced at a later date. Children born into disgrace. Grandchildren growing up visiting prison instead of grandparents. The court was clear. This wasn't desperation. It wasn't coercion. This was greed. A mother who led her children into criminality. A family that destroyed itself for money. The final words came from the judge. Instead of protecting your children, you corrupted them. The queen bee had built a hive that poisoned itself. Deborah Mason now lives in a cell. No Bugatti kettle, no Dubai, no Gucci. Just steel bars and silence. Her family is scattered across UK prisons. Her empire gone. And her legacy, not power, not wealth, not respect. Just a story of how crime wears masks, and sometimes the most dangerous traffickers don't look like criminals at all, they look like grandmothers. Do you think Deborah Mason was a mastermind, or just a middle worker who thought she was untouchable? What part of this story disturbed you the most? At what point does family loyalty turn into criminal responsibility? If you were on that jury, would 20 years feel fair to you? Have you heard of a crime family like this before in the UK? Do you think her children were victims, or willing partners? Did this story change the way you see normal people? If this case has surprised you, tap like and subscribe to support the channel, Dark Crime Motive. And comment below. Before you go, I'd really like to know what you think. Was this a crime family, or a family destroyed by crime?